Congressman, thank you so much today. I want to ask you about this. How you respond to those who fear that pushing for an outright decriminalization at the federal level, except where it's being transported into a state that still has criminal, this might detract from the parallel effort to enforcement in states that respect in states that I know that you and Congressman Kinchy and Rohrabacher have been dealing with that for a number of years. And now that the Republicans have an even greater hold, and there does seem to be a battle on this, how far do you a smaller measure getting, let alone this?
No, it's a very good question. It doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, having removed the criminal prohibition in general creates a somewhat safer space, my colleague, be for political purposes. I'm going to, with a more extreme position. I do think, I had a little bit of trouble, people said, well, just for medical, you really for whenever. The limited extent. I never lied, but there's a limited extent to which you can refuse to answer the question. I will tell you, I think it's very clear the way most people behave, not just politicians. We are committed to telling the truth and nothing but the truth. The whole truth, without a subpoena, maybe not so much. I just couldn't keep, I said, well, I got to answer the question, but it does occur to me that we are consciously making them two separate bills so people can be for one and not the other, and they can say, oh, you're just trying to legalize marijuana, and I'm saying I am, but not in this vehicle. And people, and it, in some ways, I'm not it wasn't the most, who might be honest. I think that creates the safer space for the limited piece and helps make clear that this is not the total legalization. Yes?
It seems like one of the vehicles that may be employed to sell this bill is explaining to congressmen and people that this won't be a free-for-all. Like, states will be able to have their own laws about marijuana. And I'm wondering, in this political climate of the federal government being seen as the bad guy and trying to combat that for completely unrelated issues like healthcare, if pushing states' rights as justification.
It has some impact. You say explain it to members of Congress. You realize they know that. Right. I would say this. The obstacles are more political than intellectual here. That is, I believe I know many more members of the Congress agree with the position I'm taking than feel politically empowered to something to prohibition of marijuana or literally the courage of their convictions, which is easier than getting them to act against their convictions. But yes, the states' rights argument is there. And as a matter of fact, Ron Paul makes that argument. Although Ron's a libertarian, so he also would say that at the state level. Dana Rohrabacher from Orange County, California, is one of the Republicans who's for it. So the answer is yes, we do try to argue that. And we point out we'll still be up to the states. Although, again, they asked me, I voted last year in this state to further decriminalize.
I was actually just wondering, as it stands now, according to when a state issues you a medical license, you can only use that license in that state.
Correct.
With your policy, would you say, I guess, allow all states to?
Well, two things.
I guess you see the question I'm going here. Would you allow, say, Colorado?
Yeah. Two separate bills. The bill dealing with medical marijuana would not do that. By the way, to the people, you make state ratchet, argue for states' rights in legislation by saying the state will decide, unless the state 10 states away decides the other way, and then they got to honor that. So the states' rights argument cuts against that. So the medical marijuana piece, well, I take in both cases, no. At this point, the notion of a federal override of state law is beyond what we could think about. So you would still have to obey state law. And again, to go back, if you're going to use states' rights as an argument, then that's part of the problem. So it would not allow you to carry it, although I have had some friends, people have asked about carrying it on an airplane. And the answer is, as I recall, which is logical, if you are flying from one state where medical marijuana is legal to another state where it is legal, then with proper notification you can carry it on the plane. But if you're going from a state where it isn't legal to one where it is, or vice versa, then you can't do that. So, but again, the states' rights argument has to go both ways.
We have time for 2 more questions. I realize some people may have to step out early to leave for class, but if at all possible, please stay for the last 2 questions.